our first general meeting of 2023. Just welcome and Happy New Year to everybody. John, I'll pass it over to you to introduce our speaker, and then we'll run our business meeting after. Over to you.
Okay, yep, thanks very much. Well, the Digital Library of Amateur Radio and Communications is a library of materials and collections that are related to amateur radio and early communications. And DLARC is funded by a grant from the Amateur Radio Digital Communications, a private foundation. That was created to create a digital library of documents, preserves, and has access to history for many things, but there is a specific library for our amateur radio community. So I'd like to introduce our guest presenter for the evening. It's Kay Savetz, whose call sign is Kilo 6 Kilo Juliet November. And I was first in contact with Kay last fall when SARC member Andrew Mateka made me aware of the archive, because I certainly wasn't aware of it before. And he suggested that we add our communicator newsletter to it. And after checking out the site, I jumped at the opportunity. And one of the reasons I did was that for years, I personally wanted an index of topics that we've covered over the 12 years that I've been editing the communicator. But I just never got around to it because it was a huge job going back through all those issues and editing and indexing all of those things. But anyway, in one fell swoop, the archive solved my problem and that of our readers, because I get a couple of inquiries every month after I publish an issue about whether there is an index, and a few emails about where to find a certain article that they're looking for. So anyway, now I can just point them to the archive, and makes my life a lot easier as well. But they've also got a great online reading option, and I'm sure Kay will, I don't want to steal his thunder here, I'm sure he'll show us all about that. But first of all, I'd like to thank Kay for the service that he and others at the archive provide, and thank him especially for joining us this evening for this presentation. So I'll turn it over to you, Kay.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Well, you pretty much gave my talk. You told about Internet Archive and DLARC. We're done. Thank you. Any questions? So, hello. My name is Kay Savetz K6KJN. I am the curator of the Digital Library of Amateur Radio and Communications, which is a project of the Internet Archive. The goal of the DLARC, the Digital Library of Amateur Radio and Communications, that just rolls off the tongue, is to create an incredible, permanent, open access library of ham radio and related communications for researchers and students and scholars and radio hobbyists and the general public. So about me, I became a ham in 1989. That's when I got my license, and I upgraded to extra last year. My dad was a ham before me, and when I was a little kid, I remember being in his car driving around, and he had his talking radio, and that was his ham radio, and it was always, chattering, and that was kind of my introduction. I went off to college in 1989, making a lot of friends and going to parties and that sort of college thing. I would learn Morse code, and that's the kind of nerd I am. So I have been Internet Archive's biggest fan for years. I'm going to talk about Internet Archive first, so you're familiar with what that organization is. Internet Archive at archive.org is a nonprofit digital library. It's been around for more than 25 years. And some people just know it as the Wayback Machine. If you've ever used the Wayback Machine to look at websites that don't exist anymore, or to see websites that still exist, but before they were changed, then that is one tool, one service of the Internet Archive. That's just one slice of what the organization does. Internet Archive's mission is universal access to all knowledge. It's a library entirely online, entirely free. You do need an account to do some things, but the account is also free. There's no ads, there's no tracking, it's just free information. And that information includes millions of books, magazines, movies, government data, everything a traditional public library might have, but it's available to anyone, anywhere. Internet Archive has more than 99 petabytes of data. Petabytes is 1,000 terabytes, so that's more than, it's a lot of data. There's more than 7 million books available to read, and Internet Archive scans more than 4,000 books every single day and makes those available. That's across everything. That's not just ham radio. You're not going to find 7 million ham radio books. So that's everything they do, and you can learn more about them, about us, at archive.org. So one slice of what Internet Archive does is the thing I'm in charge of, which is the Digital Library of Amateur Radio and Communications. This project started last year when I was hired. And like I said, the goal of DLARC is to create this incredible permanent knowledge area regarding radio and communications. The project is funded by ARDC, Amateur Radio Digital Communications, which is a private foundation. It funds amateur radio related projects all around the world. The organization gives out grants to advance amateur radio. Some of the grants are small. I mean, they will literally fund a small club's equipment upgrades, give them $1,000 to buy a new antenna or whatever they need. And some of them are quite generous. For instance, they have given money recently to fund building of new amateur satellite design. So the ARDC provided the grant for this library project, and then I was brought in to be the curator. And Internet Archive has the infrastructure and the expertise to make that happen, and they have me to actually do the work. So what qualifies in the Digital Library of Amateur Radio and Communications? What qualifies as communications? That was like basically my first question when I was talking about doing this job. I mean, I understand what amateur radio is. How broad is communications? And basically the answer they gave me was, you're the expert, it's up to you. So they gave me a lot of leeway to decide what qualifies as appropriate. And I'm using that leeway to find just all of the interesting radio stuff. I don't know if they're going to be happy with me or not, but this is what they're getting. So as curator, I am allowing all sorts of radio-related material, basically any non-commercial broadcast radio stuff. Besides ham radio, that includes citizens band, shortwave listening, pirate radio, number stations, software distribution over radio, like basic code, antennas, general electronic hobbyist stuff. If anything that I think that a ham radio person or just radio geek might be interested in, as far as I'm concerned, it's valid. It's valid to go in there. We are working on, so the material that we're putting in the library includes printed material such as books and magazines. It includes what Internet Archive calls born digital material, such as PDF files, podcasts, things that were kind of created on the internet. And it includes personal ephemera and materials such as logbooks and things. So I'm trying to, as you know, ham radio has been around for more than 100 years. I'm trying to put under this umbrella a lot of material that covers the history of this very broad and interesting topic. And so that might mean the run of 73 magazines. And it also might mean literally some random ham's video of his de-expedition that he did, which actually I added 5 videos today. Someone did a de-expedition years ago. He sent me DVDs. I ripped them, I uploaded them, and now they're there. So if you want to see a old expedition to South Africa, it is there, and it's part of the library. And both things are equally valid. So I would like to, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen and show you some highlights. Just show you some of what we have now, and then we'll talk about what you have that we could perhaps add. Okay. So anyway, here's my dad's license. He was K6KJN. I guess back at the time they gave you an N when you were a novice. So he was KN6KJN, and then he became K6KJN, and I took his call sign after he passed. All right, I'm going to show you some of the highlights. Now we're going to start with the sparkling gem of the collection, the absolute best thing of the millions of things in the library, which is the complete run of the little newsletter called the Surrey Amateur Radio Communications Communicator newsletter. So we have every issue generously provided by your club. And we can just pick a random issue, and then you can read it online and turn the pages in the neat little viewer thing. And that's all very well and good. But if you want to download it, you can click that, and then you can download the PDF to your computer to enjoy when you're offline. That's all very nice. We can sort by date. Sort by date published, and it will show us the newsletter in the order that it was created. Of course, now my internet connection is being weird. So we can see it, or you can click this and you can see the oldest ones first, and so that's convenient. You can see the look of it changed over time. See, it's kind of neat. See the formatting changes and just view it. But the probably coolest thing, the most useful tool, I think, for this and for everything is the search text contents field. So we're going to search for, I don't know, I remember reading an interesting article about packet radio some time ago, and I can't, so we can just search for packet radio, and then instantly it shows us every article that mentions packet radio. And then it was like, oh yeah, I think this one was it. You can click it, and it takes you right to the page and highlights the I probably should have put it in quotes, but it highlights the words, and you can just zoom to the page that interests you. So that is not kidding at all, one of the highlights of our collection. We also have the complete run of 73 magazine, Amateur Radio Today. Every issue is here. Wayne Green, before he died, donated to the Internet Archive an entire run of 73 and said that he wanted it to be online for everybody. And that was actually, I heard about that, and I saw that in his obituary that ran in QST, I believe, mentioned that, and that's great, that's neat. And then I was just like, the Internet Archive lawyers are going to want me to prove that. and it was like the community knew that this happened, but I couldn't find anything in writing. And so just out of abundance of fun and caution, I contacted his family, and they signed a thing saying that it was legit, because I didn't want to get anybody sued. So you can look at all the magazines, and of course it's full text searchable and all that. So that's one of the neat things. One of the very first things we've got in the library, and indeed one of the oldest, is these issues of Aviation Wireless News. And this was published starting in 1918. And this was a magazine about the two fancy new technologies of wireless and also airplanes. So we have several issues of that, which are fun to browse. Just today, I added all of the issues of the Boulder, Colorado Amateur Radio, Amateur Television Club's newsletter, which is called BATVC TV Repeater. And all the issues are here. And that's a nice, concise amateur television newsletter. And then if you want something that's less concise, we also have the full run of CQ TV, which is a amateur TV newsletter out from the British Amateur Television Club. One of the things I love about ham radio, it's been said that it's 1,000 hobbies, and I think that's probably an understatement. But so we have these newsletters that are all about, we have 2 newsletters right now. They're all about amateur television. And we have a newsletter that's all about Morse code and CW, all about that. So, you know, it's this little niche things, and then here they are. And the benefit that we're providing to these newsletters is basically giving them a permanent long-term backup of their sites while they still exist, making them more visible, more available, more findable to the world. People who might not know about these groups might just stumble upon information. Many of these things don't have the full text search available or indexes for their own sites, on their own websites. So we give them more. It's more than just newsletters. We accept any material, basically, from clubs. One of the most prolific adders of information has been the Milwaukee, Wisconsin Amateur Radio Amateurs Club, which these guys, first of all, they've been around forever. They were incorporated in 1917, and they saved everything. They saved everything. Letters, programs. Every time they bought receipts because they needed to buy, steno pads or business cards or whatever, they saved it all, and then they scanned it all, and they are making it available. We're up to 1917 through 1969 right now. They're still sending me stuff from 1970 to the present. So this is a work in progress. They have made all of this stuff available, and it's amazing. There's some amazing bits of history in here. I'll show you a couple of the good ones. Here is a letter from Hiram Percy Maxim, the co-founder of the ARRL. And there's his signature, and there's actually a few different letters from him in here. I thought that was interesting. There's a bunch of stuff in their files about the suspension of amateur radio operations for war. Oops, I typed that wrong. Let's try this again. Hold on. No. When they suspended amateur radio for World War II. Here it is. Here's a notice to all radio amateurs, December 11th, 1941. And yeah, you guys are off the air. And then that's here. And then we have discussion, and then another letter when things were back online. And so that's an amazing bit of the history of ham radio. If someone was doing a research paper or a dissertation or an article, or was just interested, you can explore this stuff and probably see things and put together ideas that have not been found before. Here is a 1940 cartoon. It's called Side Glances by an artist named Galbraith. I will describe it briefly. There are two women, fancy looking women wearing furs and stuff, and they're walking out on the street into a club or something. And one of them says to the other, "I wouldn't marry him for $1 million. He's an amateur radio fiend and sits up all night to hear somebody tell him it's raining in Tuscaloosa." Well, some things I think don't change.
I think I saw that not too long ago and somebody published it, I think.
I posted it on my Mastodon,
Nice.
D-Lark Mastodon. You might have seen it there, or yeah. So, or it could have been, someone could have had the same idea and drawn it up in a modern newspaper last week, and it still would have been relevant, I think. Florida Skip is an amateur radio publication that started, I think, in the 1960s by a man named Andy Clark. A gentleman found a bunch of these Florida Skip newsletters, basically a regional publication for hams in the state of Florida. He found a bunch of them. He had scanned them already, and asked me if I wanted them in the library. I'm like, of course I do, certainly. And then for fun, I looked up Andy Clark, W4IYT, who published this. And he had passed away, but I found his son, Andy Clark, W4IYT. And his son had the entire run of Florida Skips in his attic. And he is lending them to us, and we will be scanning them. And so we're going to go from these 74 issues to the entire run of this regional ham publication. And I'm looking forward to that. Which gives me the opportunity to talk about scanning. The Internet Archive, we can accept, if you have scanned your newsletter or something, we can accept those PDFs. That's super easy. But for material that is on paper, Internet Archive can scan it. We have high-speed scanners that look like this that can scan books, magazines, newspapers, any sorts of publications very quickly without harming the original works. And as a result, that's how Internet Archive scans more than 4,000 books a day. And that is how we are adding ham radio books at an amazing clip.
So how many of those scanners do you have then? Like, is this
There
distributed or?
There are multiple scanning centers. I don't think I have the full answer for you. Like, I can't say it, there's 100 scanners or whatever, but there are multiple scanning centers around the world. A lot of the scanning gets done in the Philippines, but there are multiple scanning centers around the United States. If somebody donates material for the ham radio project, all of that stuff is being scanned in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And they have a number of scanner machines there. And that's what I can tell you about that. The South African radio news bulletins, which were published from 1999 to 2022. That's more than 2,000 of them. And they were available as text files. And I did some magic to turn them into PDFs so they're a little easier to read on Internet Archive. And now they're here in full text searchable. So if you want to, something interesting ham radio related happen, there it is. So I've been talking about print publications, but we also do audio. We do podcasts and other audio publications. I worked with Hap Holly, KC9RP. He is a blind ham. He produced the RAIN report. First, it started off as the RP report, and then it changed its name to the RAIN report from about 1985 to about 1992. And that went to, I'm sorry, from 95 to 2019, inclusive of both publications. He has done incredible work. Basically, he started podcasting well before it was called podcasting, but it was a radio-based show where he talked about news and what was happening. He so many amazing interviews. He's done so many amazing interviews and talked about the news and things. Let's see. He wrap up from Hamvention and whatever the hot topic or what are we worried about today? Should commercial use be allowed on ham radio or this and that? Just for fun, I'll search for Gordon West. I'm sure he was interviewed a number of times on the show. So this is an amazing body of work. So I love this, and we have it all. And Hap has been very generous with his time, and he actually found some more on cassette tape that never got digitized, and he is digitizing them and sending them in, and we're going to add those as well. But here, this was a problem right here. So what we have here is we can see the audio waveform. That's great. We can see the date it was published, and based on Hap's show notes, we know this has something to do with Gordon West, and it's called No Gain, No Loss. That's fine. That's very nice, but it doesn't tell us very much. This isn't quite done yet. We're still working on this, but I'll show you the next trick. We're running everything through Whisper AI transcription software, which is not perfect, but it's really, really good. So here's this episode. This was only 13 minutes. And here's a transcript of the episode. And so the transcription is done, and this is not full text searchable yet, but it will be. So if somebody mentions a particular ham, if your grandpa was mentioned, or somebody mentions whatever niche thing you're into, or your city, or whatever you want to find, we're going to be able to find it, even if it was mentioned in halfway through a 60-minute interview or podcast. So I'm very excited by this, and so this is kind of coming down the pike. We have a bunch of podcasts too, but I'm still adding. Oops, that's kind of too big now. Still adding podcasts. Trying to get permission for everything, unless they're Creative Commons. But let's see. QSO Today has a podcast. They also have also letting us archive all of their virtual Ham Expo talks. Foundations of Amateur Radio podcast doesn't exist anymore, but we got those episodes. What else do we have? Amateur Logic, ICQ, Solder Smoke. So podcasts that exist and podcasts that no longer exist, we are adding. We also have, and I don't know, this is not a big deal, but it just makes me happy. Catalog of many ham radio outlet catalogs. I contacted the company. I told them what I was doing, and they said they don't really archive them, but the guy who does the layout for the catalogs, he had a bunch of old PDFs he never deleted, so he sent them to me. So now if you want to reminisce about that radio you bought in 2009, sure, you can look at it and see how much it cost at the time, and go, oh yes, the 7600 was just released. What a great radio. So I don't know, it just makes me happy, because part of the fun of ham radio is buying new toys, right? And also C Crane, a company that makes shortwave radios and for that sort. And don't think they do transmitting, but they do a lot of radios for listening to radio. And they sent me a bunch of their catalogs as well. Something I barely put my toe into the water, but something that's going to be coming. Amateur radio software. Someone gave me a whole bunch of floppy disks of software, and I ripped them and put them online. And right now we only have a couple. This number's not quite right. A couple of hundred, but there's a lot more in there I need to dig through. That will be added. I was and am an Atari 8-bit guy. The Atari 800 back here was my first love. Incidentally, a computer, I believe, that was much loved by the ham community because it was very, very well RF shielded compared to some of the other machines like the Apple II and the Commodore 64. There's like a half-inch thick metal casing around some of the stuff in there, so it wouldn't mess with your radio. So I'm going to be adding a section of software for the Atari. There wasn't that much, but the Apple II, man, I found I have a list. I haven't added it yet. It's just kind of in my to-do pile. A lot of software for the Apple II regarding ham radio. So we're going to be adding that as soon as I have a spare brain cell. Something that I think is a golden gem of this collection, of this library, is the lending library. Now, everything I've shown you, I believe, so far, is full open access. You can view it online. You can download it. We have permission. Blah, blah. The lending library works a little differently. It works exactly like a physical, real, local library. The Internet Archive, let's say the Internet Archive is donated a book of electromagnetics with applications. They scan it using that fancy scanner I showed you earlier. They make it available online to, you can borrow it. Basically you can't read it until, you can't read it until you borrow it. And you can borrow it. You can borrow it for 10 minutes. You can borrow it for 14 days. And no one else can read it while you're doing that. So we own one copy. One person can read it. And then when you return it, someone else can look at it. So it's a very cool. And now this, we have about, right now in the DLARC lending library, about 500 books. This number, I can see stuff that you can't see yet. But in a couple of weeks, once they're officially added, there's going to be about 1,200 things. But right now, it's really about 500. We're adding a lot of issues of popular electronics. There are, it's just, there's a lifetime worth of reading here already, and we are just getting started. Shortwave Listener's Handbook and Introduction to Antennas, that sort of thing. We also have, I'm almost done. I'll open up to questions in a minute. We also have some technical papers. I made a special collection for technical papers, miscellaneous journal articles and dissertations and that sort of thing. I just added about 15 today that I found. Honestly, I think they're interesting to the ham radio people. They have the word antenna in them. These things are so above my pay grade. I just have to guess sometimes if new adaptive cooperative MIMO for LTE technology, is that potentially of interest to a ham? I don't know. Predicting the notch band frequency of ultra wideband antenna using artificial neural networks? Sure. Why not? So I'm doing my best with some of this. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Apple II software, sure. Technical papers. So that's some of what we have so far. I'm going to give you a couple of tricky links. First of all, you can look at all of this. You can explore yourself at archive.org/details/DLARC, all lowercase. And you can see all the items we have right now. Right now it says there's about 35,000 things. Somebody needs to mute again. A way to make it a little easier is to sort and just look at collections, and that brings it kind of down to a more manageable. You can see things in sorted chunks of folders that I've created. Not everything is in a collection, but that's just a good way to look. So let's see. I guess what is coming. So I showed you what we have coming, stuff that I still need to add. Just got permission for the entire run of Amateur Radio Newsline. A ton of stuff is coming from TAPR, the Packet Radio Group, Glenn Hauser's World of Radio, a lot of issues, especially older issues of QST, a bunch of other magazines, including RF Design and General Radio Experimenter, Popular Electronics, Television Radio Age, RCA Review, a bunch of Dutch magazines, including Hobby Electronica. There's a bunch of things coming as I have time to add them. And before I take questions, I will just close with, this is what we have. Here's what we need. Here is how you can help me. First of all, I just want you to use it. I want you to explore and see what's there. Spread the word on social media, at your ham groups. Get people using this. It's not useful if it's not used. There is so much here and so much more to come, and I'm literally adding to it every day. So besides actually using it, the library is looking for donations of radio-related books and magazines and newsletters, etc. We will scan them, we will keep them, and we will make them available online to the world. And number two, we're looking for permission from people who have created ham radio content, podcasts, newsletters, videos, articles, PDFs, whatever, to include. And if you own it, you can send us the PDFs or whatever, fine. If you can lend it to us, in that case, we can scan it and return it. But I'm looking for new, interesting radio-related content. So that is my spiel. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer.
So is this your full-time job?
No, they offered me, honestly, they offered me this full-time. And I was just like, no, I'm lazier than that. So,
or like, are you retired now? Is this just a part-time thing? Or you also?
This is a part-time thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'm a business owner, and the business does not require 40 hours a week of my attention. So
perfect.
Yeah, I give some of my attention to this.
Kay, do you do equipment manuals?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Sounds good.
There are several collections of equipment manuals already online, that basically stuff that I downloaded from the website. We've got Kenwood and Alinco and Yaesu and all the heavy hitters. I kind of, to be honest, broke my own rule about owning that material, like physically, because I mean, if we put up a Yaesu manual, that doesn't hurt Yaesu in any way. It only helps people. So, and if they ask us to take it down, we will. But I just scrape that stuff. But yes, if you have manuals to donate, we will take it, we'll scan it, we'll get those online.
Okay, and another question, if I may, do you also take foreign language material that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I've learned to identify the words ham radio in multiple languages.
Okay.
Hey, I've got a question as well. This is John. You know, there, as you well know, there's thousands of videos about amateur radio on YouTube. Is there any way of indexing those through the archive at all, as far as providing their URLs, or has there been any thought given to that?
Well, it is easy for me to move stuff, videos on YouTube to Internet Archive. I have, it's easy to do. For the things I have permission for, I have scripts that check every night, are there new videos? If so, put them in the collection. That said, I can't realistically or legally download all the ham radio stuff on YouTube. I want permission. I want to do this right. So if YouTube content creators contact me and say I can do it, it takes no time at all for me to do that.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking so much of downloading the content, but more or less an index of the URLs leading then to the YouTube content.
That's a great idea. It's not something that we thought of, and I'm not sure. I don't know if I can make that a priority right now, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
You should do that.
You just can't control the content if it goes away.
Right. Which is why I like to
right
copy things over to the Internet Archive. So,
and
the thing is, of putting stuff on YouTube, and this is what I tell some of the people that have elected to let us archive their stuff. YouTube can take your stuff down for any reason, or for no reason at all, and they do, or they might not. But it's nice to have a backup anyway. If your Google account goes away because of whatever, because they say you did a policy violation, or because you're dead, then your content goes away. So, but we won't delete that stuff in that case.
Is it correct? Hasn't the Internet Archive been around far longer than YouTube?
Internet Archive's been around for 26 years.
Right.
When was YouTube?
YouTube's like 2008 or something like that, or 2006 or something.
2005, according to Google.
Yeah, there you go. So,
but yeah,
boom.
Yep.
So where is the data maintained? Like, I mean, this must be worldwide distributed. This isn't all in one place. Like,
the primary server farm is in San Francisco, which nothing ever bad could go wrong in San Francisco, right?
And the backup is
in Canada. There's a new. I think they're still putting in the servers, but there is a Canadian backup of everything.
Cool.
It's in Vancouver, yeah.
And nothing can happen there either, right?
Nothing can happen there. You guys should once it's built, you guys should take a field trip.
Yeah, absolutely, would love to.
Yeah.
You might already be able to. I'm not sure. Somebody I know was just there and got some photos with some servers the other day. So
they did a big open house sort of thing.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's literally in Vancouver?
I believe so.
Yep. It's downtown.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
It's like near those like old building on like Granville or something.
Okay, Mike, I've developed search engines, 1990s and before. What is your base? What are you running on? And what tools are you using for searching?
I don't know the answer to those questions. There's an operations team that luckily makes it so people like me don't have to think about that. I mean, I know it's Linux-based stuff. I know that the machines that they use to store information are called petaboxes because each one of them has a petabyte of storage.
I'm wondering a little more about the scanning that you mentioned. If someone's going through the archive and they find, there's a page missing or something like that, is there a way to report that? And has anything, dollar bills or strange bookmark? Are you archiving the bookmarks that you find in these things, or the card catalog item? Who's checked out that book before me?
Well, no, I mean, Internet Archive is very privacy focused, and they don't even track that you are looking at it. After you've returned it, they don't know that you've ever had it.
Okay.
So we can't tell you, you know, that Steve Wozniak read it before you or something like that. But there is a Slack on the for the Internet Archive workers of things I found in books.
Oh no.
And yeah, there have been a lot of bookmarks and just like weird notes, you know, just like a note with a poem on
Scribbles
it,
and writing, and
or
yeah.
scribbled writing, or you know, and you know, I think people have probably found dollar bills and that sort of thing.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
That's neat.
There's any old movie fans out there too. One of the things that I found on the archive was a whole bunch of old movies, the kind of stuff you see on TCM, you know, Bogart movies and everything else, and the quality is excellent, and there's a lot of them. So
Yeah. If another big project of Internet Archive, if you're into old media, they have a project where they're digitizing 78 RPM records, and they've digitized, I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands yet, but tens of thousands of them. And so, I mean, if you like old timey music, they have them. And the amazing, I think one of the amazing things about it is they digitize every one of these records using 4 different styluses, like different styli. So, because each one will give a different tone or something. So you can hear it recorded 4 different ways. And actually the turntable they have plays them digitizes the 4 stylis all at once. So I don't have to play the record 4 times. There's 4 styluses on the tone arm, and it records them all at once. So that's pretty amazing.
I'm not sure if you answered this before I came online. Everything has a cost. How is this funded?
So this is funded, the Digital Library of Amateur Radio is funded by a grant from ARDC, the Amateur Radio Digital Communication Foundation. It's a private foundation. They dole out money for ham radio projects, and they doled out a lot of money for this one.
So the Internet Archive has multiple facets, and the ham radio portion is its own sort of entity, or?
It's just me. It's just me creating problems. Yeah, I mean, there's many projects of the Internet Archive. Like I said, for instance, there's the 78 project. They launched a project last year called, oh, they're going to kill me for not remembering the exact name. The Democracy Project, and which is Democracy's Library, which is government documents from around the world. And that's a huge project that they're doing as well. There's the book scanning, and they do interlibrary loans, and you know there's the movies. If you look at the homepage of the Internet Archive at archive.org, just scroll. It shows some of the projects, and you can be instantly overwhelmed, and then find a rabbit hole of your choosing, and there goes your evening. But yeah, I mean, this ham radio project is but a sliver of their storage and what they do.
Well, I can certainly appreciate you not having the, you know, when you're looking at some of these titles and documents and going like, I have no idea if this is relevant, because there's just no way you could read, you know, even, you know, a few of them.
I've asked a couple of hams that are very, very technical about a couple of things, like, you know, is this relevant? And he's just like, absolutely. You know, there are hams in there who are doing crazy technical stuff with antennas, and it's just like, you know, yeah. So, and I'd rather let something in that's not relevant than make the other mistake the other way.
I think was Google doing something similar, because they were like counting words and determining, like, you know, at what year did a certain word or phrase become popular, and they're able to track this through scanning, you know, tens of thousands of books and pop culture, and yeah,
you can see what year there. There was a big what was the movie? There was that Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz movie that came out last year or the year before, and they used a word in it was gaslight. And people were just like, that's an anachronism. That word wasn't used like that then. And then people started, researching like, oh, when was it used in print? And I don't remember if they just, it was an internet. They argued they probably never resolved it, but yeah, it was just like, was this word used then, was the movie wrong or not? So yes, that's an interesting, useful kind of tool for arguing on the internet. Any more questions?
So does the Atari on the rack behind you actually work still?
This was my dad's Atari. It does work. I love it. The Atari was, I don't know if I said this before, it was literally my first love. But before I met, Amy or Shara or any of those lovely people I went to school with, I was in love with this machine. And I still love it. I have an Atari podcast where honestly, that my Atari research and archiving work is how I learned to do what I'm doing with the ham radio stuff. I've interviewed more than 400 people in the Atari space, and many of them had books and software, source code, that sort of thing. And I took it all and digitized it. I've digitized hundreds of thousands of pages and upload them to Internet Archive and GitHub and that sort of thing. And that's where I learned the tools. And so when this ham radio project came, I was just like, this is I knew how to do the archive stuff. So why the heck not?
How long have you been doing this?
The ham stuff?
No, the archive, archive.
When
did you take this task on for archive?
I started, I think, in August of 2022. So not very long, but maybe September. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I've gotten a lot of stuff, 35,000 items or something like that. And in a couple of days, I expect to hit the 40,000 item threshold, and I'm just going to keep going as long as I can. And
wow.
Collect all the data. Yeah.
Don't burn out.
Don't burn out.
No.
So if we have I have some old equipment manuals that may be of use to you. They're for obsolete equipment. But do you have a mailing address? Because I'll mail them to you, and you can keep them and throw them out when you're done.
Great. I will. Please email me at kay@archive.org. I put it into the chat, and we will arrange it. For anything that anybody wants to donate, we can pay for shipping, and we pay for scanning. When I say we, I mean grant that we're working off of.
Perfect.
Do you have is there like a hot list of things you're looking for? Like we've got every archive every year of this one thing, but we're missing this one edition. Does anybody out there have it? Or let
me find my, give me a minute. I wasn't ready for that question, but it's a great question. I have a want list. Here we are. I found it. Some of the things on my want list. I'm just reading my own Mastodon account. I'm looking for Wirebook, the Wirebook series by Press Jones. We have volume 4. I want the rest of them. Looking for fill in various gaps for QEX magazine. We're looking for, I mentioned the Rain Report audio podcast thing by Hap Holly. Hap is missing several years of it. So if anyone happens to have on audio tape or something, 92, 98, 2000, 2003, I'll take it in any format. We'll digitize it. And this is weird, but I'm looking for the book See Wayne Run, Run Wayne Run, self-published, I believe, by Wayne Green's ex-wife. So yeah, that would be fun to find, but that was not exactly a bestseller. So I don't think there's a lot of copies out there. So those are some of the things I want. And if there's something you have, send me an email at kay@archive.org, and I'll tell you if we need it or not.
Okay, I made our other directors aware that the November, December issue of the Communicator and earlier issues, we saw a huge increase in the number of downloads. Matter of fact, whereas we normally see about 5,000 per issue, all of a sudden it shot up to about 10,000.
Really?
And which is
Nice.
a new record certainly for one issue. And I'm kind of crediting the archive for this. It's about the only source that I know of that's
Oh, neat.
been added
I
recently. And as I mentioned, I use it almost daily.
Good. I'm glad it's useful to you. You know, that's awesome, because if it's useful to you, it's useful to other people as well. But yeah, it's frustrating to write something or publish something and then not be able to find it again later.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I'd like our membership to be aware that SARC made a donation of $100 US to the archive, our contribution, so that this project can continue. So thank you, Kay, for the fabulous service that you provide our community. Please don't burn out. And we appreciate the time that you took this evening to make us aware of the project.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. And so I'm going to leave you with 3 links in the show notes, which is my email address, k@archive.org. Most importantly, just the link for the Digital Library of Amateur Radio itself, which you should bookmark and use early and often.
Thank you, Kay.
Thank you all so much. This was fun.